Good morning, citizens. How is everyone today? Things have been happening behind the scenes, and we've made some progress. So, I actually edited the next part of my series and had that uploaded to YouTube a couple days ago, but I held off on releasing it until today because I wanted to record a couple other things as well, and this is one of them to put out there because I ended that episode showing how much money I made. So if you haven't seen that and you want to see the results of my rock mining, working my way up from absolutely nothing in the game, seeing how much money I could make, that was a very successful part two. After a lot of issues and problems, of course, there's been a lot of issues lately in the game. I ended it saying that I wasn't sure what I wanted to spend the money on, what ships I should get next, and wanted your opinion. But that I would also probably not bother to do that. And I've decided that I'm going to wait until I hear back from you for what I should do as far as purchasing with that money, at least taking your suggestions into account when I decide. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing some other stuff in game that are not part of building up that particular account, trying to earn more money until I find out what I'm going to do with that money. So that's what's going to happen. So if you have an idea what I should be spending the money that I made with the rock mining on, head over to that video and in the comments, just let me know what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to be talking a little bit about a couple of things upcoming. One was there was a hot patch, a hot fix put into the game that said it would be changing and messing with the ledger a little bit, that you might be losing your food and your ammo. And then the hot fix came, but I seem to still have the food and ammo, so I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe it happened only to some accounts, or maybe they haven't actually put that fix in yet. So when that happens, it's going to hopefully fix a few of the issues that people were having in game with, I think, persistent streaming entities. I think that's what it was. Actually, I can open up Spectrum and take a look here while I talk. I will take a look at that. What I'm going to be doing today is talk about the upcoming ship showdown. So we are in phase one of the ship showdown, and phase one is basically people showing which ships they like and giving examples of ships that they like, that they would want to be put into contention for the ship showdown. You remember last year the ship showdown, the top four ships I believe got best in show skins during the expo, and the top ship, which was the Argo MPUV Cargo Edition, got a Argo backpack for all backers that were taking part in that. So looking right now, upcoming hotfix. I'm going to read this real quick. You're not going to see it on your screen. Maybe I'll put it up, but right now I'm just recording audio only. But this was basically something with the super P cache allowing lag to build up. So this is causing lag, and this wasn't really helpful for the large amounts of people. And this might be what's leading to a lot of the 30Ks that I've been dealing with. So they are fixing this. And they said they are hopefully rolling out this week, but as I said, it said it would affect the food, drink, ammunition, med pens, all the consumables. I wonder if that would also be mining consumables. Most likely, hasn't happened with me. Hasn't been an issue. So that may change. But back on to the main topic of this video. So this video is just going to be me really talking about the ship showdown coming up and my thoughts on what ships I would vote for best in show, or for the best ship really in Star Citizen. And I've given myself my own categories. These aren't categories that are in the showdown. Basically, it's all ships against each other. But I just thought, what do I think some of the best starters are, some of the best big ships, some of the best multi-crew ships, some of the best fighters, and really just some ships that I just love because of just their beautiful ships. And so I'm just going to go quickly through them as fast as I can and just kind of talk about certain ships here and what I like. And I would love to hear what you think the best ship in Star Citizen is, what you think should be best in show and why, and if there's any of these that you agree with or disagree with as far as ships that you like or don't like. And these are only ships that I have experience with, and I'm also not going to include ships that do not exist in game. So I won't be talking about ships like the Orion or the Banner Merchantman, larger ships like that, any of the smaller ships that are in concept, in development. They won't be discussed here because they are not ships that currently are in game that I've never flown. I'm not going to be talking about a lot of ships that I have very little experience with. So really, we're going to look at starters first. And starter ships are the ships that you can get with game packages. And I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm going to have like a cutoff. I wouldn't really talk about the large package that comes with the Carrack and everything else in there. It's ridiculously overpriced. You don't need that. But when people think starters, they usually think about the Aurora MR or the Mustang Alpha. Those are the first two. I used to say the Aurora was by far the best one. It had some cargo space. It's got a quick claim time. It's fairly versatile. You can do cargo running, admittedly with a very small amount. You can also do box delivery missions. It's okay in combat. I like the way it looks. A lot of people are not a big fan of the looks, but I actually really like them. It's got rooms for passengers to stand inside. It's got a bed. The Mustang now has the working cargo bay, that the box that drops down that you can access to put boxes in to do delivery mission. It's got a really sleek look, good for combat. I still personally prefer the Aurora, but the Mustang, because of the fact that that cargo bay has dropped down, it has gotten a lot better. A slight step up from the $45 packages. You're looking at something like the 100i, very sleek. The Origin look. It's got a nice high quality interior, amazing fuel rates. If you're ever looking for a ship to work alongside a prospector for flying around looking for minables on a planet's surface while the prospector is just doing the mining, that is ship to go. It can basically fly forever with how the fuel scoop works along with the fuel economy. Now I'm assuming the fuel scoop is still part of the 100i. If not, let me know that I've got that wrong. It's also got 2 size 3 hardpoints. I believe they're only size 2 weapons on there because they're on gimbals. 4 missiles. It's got a bed. It's pretty awesome. Stepping up a little bit from that, you also have something like the C8X Pisces, which I'd never really used a lot until Invictus. And added Invictus, I tried that out, and it was awesome. I really like the C8X, and I would say that that's a pretty solid starter. We have the Avenger Titan, which is very similar to the Pisces in that it's got a ramp at the back for getting in and out with a nice interior space. 8 SU of cargo, I believe. Easy access to get in. Room for passengers. It's okay in combat. It's got sleek looks, unlike the Pisces, which is more like solid and blocky, kind of a TNG shuttlecraft. The Nomad, another good starter, but a fairly high price. This is a more of a buy-in game than buy-in person type ship, I find, for the most part. It's got the floating landing gear, so when it's landed, it's actually hovering off the ground, which kind of makes it stand apart. A little bit of a larger ship. Exposed cargo area, which isn't great. It's got 3 rooms, basically. It's got like the front vestibule with the little bit of storage in there. It's got the living quarters with a little kitchen, and really nice. So if you want to have like a livable interior for roleplay, that'd be really an awesome ship. And it's got the cockpit space behind the next door. It's okay in combat. It can actually carry things like a rock, so it's great for starting out as a entry-level ship for getting into rock mining. Technically holds a DS also, which is something the Cutlass can't even do, although it's kind of iffy getting it in there. The Cutlass will be the last one. This is by all means the highest price of the starters I'm having on here. The Cutlass Black is a ship that I've never liked how it looks. It's not really something I've liked the looks of, but I use it quite a bit because once I've gotten past that, it's a ship that I really like. It can carry a rock. Oddly enough, as I was saying, can't carry the DS. It's a little bit too narrow as far as the opening at the ramp. Multicrew, you can have someone on the turret in there. It's got a nice large interior, lots of cargo space, and it's all protected, unlike the Nomad. Ramp only access, so if you land hard on the ramp, or if you forget to close the ramp and come in for a landing, you might break the ramp. You can exit through the sides. Sometimes you can jump in through the sides, but it's not always easy. There's also other starter packs like the Hornet, like it was a F7C, I believe, the Freelancer, the Constellation Andromeda, the Arrow. I'm not going to get into those ones. Those ones, the prices have gone up and up and up, and I really wouldn't consider that starters as much as these ships here. Even the Cutlass is kind of a little high in the price for a starter. So my choice out of all these is still the Aurora, but the Mustang has really improved with the accessible cargo area, and the Pisces is pretty solid after having it as the loaner for Invictus when it was the same price when it was on sale, as far as the same price as the Aurora. I think that was a better starter, and so you know what? I think I'll change my answer. I'm gonna go with the Pisces. The other ships like the Cuddy, the Nomad, may be a bit better in some ways, but starters should be affordable, and those are a bit overpriced. So for starter, I'd say I think Pisces. That's the one I would go with. Next, I'm going to talk about big ships. Now, the big ships, I've narrowed down to the Carrack, Caterpillar, the Hercules, I've kind of all put them together. The 890 and the 600i, and there's actually two versions of that I'll talk about. The Carrack is the one that a lot of people seem to love. That is the ship that they love the most. When they've talked about things like, I believe it was the Odyssey, they're saying that's going to be a Carrack killer. I don't think so. The Carrack is a massive, solid multi-crew ship with its own hangar. I love how each floor has its own style. It's got the massive two-tier bridge on the front. Great for combat and exploration roles. It's great for support vehicle or for transferring. What a great ship. The Caterpillar, I consider a big ship, although it's not nearly as big as some of the other ones. It's long and narrow. It's modular eventually, not yet. Kind of the ugly duckling of a lot of the ships because it's not really a great looking ship, but it is a look that kind of grows on people. Good flight characteristics for its size, multi-role, especially after the modularity. Very easy to get into now too. The Carrack, I find it takes a long time to get to the bridge and back. Partly because I don't really fly it a lot, so I do get lost a little bit quicker. But I find getting to the pilot seat of the Caterpillar a little bit better. Also, eventually, I believe the plan is still to have the bridge area detachable into a secondary ship that you can land and return to. If that comes and the multi-role comes, like the modularity comes, that's going to be an awesome ship. The Hercules are pretty impressive. They're very impressive. And the bomber version is super fun to play with. The fact that you can transport so many things as far as vehicles, crew, people, cargo all inside there is pretty awesome as well. However, I find once you go past the large cargo area, I find the interiors on the second tier, whether it's like the hab area and the little like crew area and the engine area there, kind of sparse. So I'm not a super big fan of any of the Hercs as far as thinking if they're like the best ship. The 890 is a show of money and power. At the moment, there's really no reason to have an 890 besides showing everyone you've got an 890. That being said, what an awesome ship. And if you're looking for role playing, if you're looking to have people together and just kind of explore and enjoy the verse, when the 890 is really fleshed out, it's going to be coming into its own. It's basically a floating hotel. Currently limited roles, but I can see that changing in the future. And then we have the 600i, the Explorer and Touring. It's supposed to be modular. Let's try that again. It's supposed to be modular in the future. The looks and style, very beautiful with the Origin ships. I like the interior of the Exploring version, not the Touring version. Really, I think it's just a little more useful and a little more tighter in design than the middle in the Touring, the open area. But I hear they are getting a bit of a rework, so we'll see what happens with there, changing what's inside there. Also, you can't beat the shields on the 600i. What a solid ship. You can use it in combat, even though it's really big, because it can take a beating. So if I had to choose personally, out of all these ships, it comes down to the Caterpillar, which I do enjoy, and one of the few Drake ships whose style I actually like. And I feel it fits with the ship, the design of the ship. It really looks good. And the 600i, specifically the Explorer, I could almost flip a coin, but I have to choose. I might go with the 600i. When the modularity of the Caterpillar comes into play in the future, most certainly my decision on that would change. After that, I would think about multi-crew ships. We got like there's many multi-crew ships, and so many ships you can consider to be multi-crew, but I'm going to narrow it down to the Hammerhead, the Star Runner, the Carrack, and the Argo Mole. Now, as a minor, it's almost a 4C conclusion what I go with, but we're going to talk about all of them. The Hammerhead, solid ship for combat, lots of turrets, lots of armor, really good for moving crew and troops around. The MSR, currently good for rock mining because you can hold, especially with a crew, a number of rocks in the bay. Scanning and flight characteristics are pretty good. Decent protection with the crew, and you have people on the upper and lower turrets. Also, designed after a very famous ship, the Millennium Falcon. Of course, people would like that ship. Some things about that ship bother me, but overall, I really like the look of that. The Carrack, I've already talked about a bit, so I'm not going to get too much more into the Carrack. And then the Argo Mole, which I know you can solo, but it's not a solo ship. It's designed as a multi-crewed ship. And once you get into the location of mine, I think it's actually got something for everyone as far as a non-combat multi-crew role, because the pilot is piloting up to and scanning. The crew in the arms are scanning and directing the pilot, and when it's time to do the mining, the pilot is still repositioning around an asteroid while people are mining. So really a fun multi-crew mining ship. So as I said, as a miner, it's almost foreseen that I would go with the mole in this category. However, it's not. I'm mostly a solo player and have limited experience with the mole, and that's one of the main things. The Carrack, it's always a fan favorite, and I'm always impressed, but I've never really been in love with it. I've just been more impressed by it. I love the space. I love Star Wars, and so here, my gut, I go with the ship that's heavily inspired by the Millennium Falcon, right down to the space chessboard and curved walls and dual turrets. I'm going to go with the Star Runner as my choice in a multi-crew ship. Next, we're going to fighters. Anyone who watches my videos know I'm not huge into fighting. I'm not a big fighter. But I've made a list here. We got the Gladius, the Buccaneer, the Aurora LN, the Carthol, which is a POA's ship, and the 600i. I'm not going to talk about the Ares, Ion, or the Inferno. I've only really have experience with them before they were changed after their release, after the expo. So I really don't know. I know some people still use them, and if I was fighting against a larger ship, maybe, but I really don't have any experience anymore, so that's why I'm not including the Ares in this talk. The Gladius is a ship that, you know, has been in development forever and that CIG puts a lot of effort into. It does have one of the coolest startups when you get in the ship and power the ship on, because they've had an animation for the character to actually interact with the buttons and switches. The Buccaneer is one that I've never really worried about or used or looked at until this latest Invictus, and I was impressed. Not a solid ship, but a solid hitter. So that was a ship that I'm really was impressed with. The Aurora, I do like the Aurora MR, and the LN is another Aurora and I like its quick claim time. It actually packs a pretty good punch. It holds its own in a lot of fights. And then we have the Carthol, which I'm only including in here because it is the ship that whoever designed the sound for it, I still say has the best sound of any ship in the game in flight. It is amazing. And then the 600i for its solid shields. The 600i can take a beating and dish out what it needs to at the same time. It's not the most nimble. It's not really what you would consider to be a fighter, but I'm thinking outside the box here. I'll put the 600i in there. So I enjoy the Gladius. It's the favorite son, like I said, of CIG. It does have the most beautiful power-up animation, but I don't always find myself looking for a combat situation, so it's not my ship. It's not one that speaks to me. I love the Auroras. I feel comfort and true affinity for the LN, which I think is quite often the underestimated ship. I've won fights punching well above my weight class in an LN due to skill, mostly, admittedly, luck, and others not taking it as seriously as they should. It also has a nice fast claim time, so if something goes wrong, which for me is more than often than not, it's a really good ship. Up till recently, my choice in this category would have been the LN. However, with the Invictus allowing me to try the Buccaneer for the first time, I had fun. So much fun. And so if that doesn't really make a ship the best ship, I don't know what does. Having fun and enjoying the ship. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneer in this category. Now we're going to go into beauty contests. Ships that look beautiful. Ships that I would say this is the best ship because I just love looking at the ship. So we're looking at something like the 400i from Origin. And you're going to notice a theme in the beginning of this, which is the manufacturer. The 400i is probably one of my favorites out of all the I-series ships. The 890, to me, I know it's supposed to be almost like a giant space yacht, but the boat-like looks of it, I'm just not a fan. The 400i has a little bit different, more of a bird look to it to me. I really like it. It's not as round as the like the 600i. It's not as small and sleek as like the 100 or the 315. The 400i, I think, is a beautiful ship. Both in and out, both sitting on the ground and in space, the 400i looks awesome. After that, we're going to go to another Origin ship, the 600i. But this time, I will choose the Touring over the Exploration model, just because the interior just has a little bit more to make it that much more beautiful. It's a ship that you can be inside and impressed with, or outside and impressed with. The views that you're looking through the windows, everything about this makes the 600i Touring a wonderful ship. I love ships that just look amazing, and another ship that looks amazing and inside and out in a different way is the Banu Defender. Now, the Banu Defender is a ship that just looks mean and sleek and powerful. It is a great ship. But now we're going to get into maybe a little bit of a difference in what beauty is, because we're going to talk about the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar is a Drake ship, and it's one of the few Drake ships that I look at and go, I love how this ship looks. Something about the structure of the landing gear, which gives it its name. Something about the asymmetrical design. Even the interior, the layouts, the look. I think the Caterpillar, in its own way, is a beautiful ship. And then we have a ship that no one could look at and think it's beautiful, but it's really its character and its design makes it beautiful. It's the Reclaimer. The Reclaimer is just a ship that just, its presence is overpowering and just commands you to respect it, and it is a beautiful ship. So beauty is in the why did I say that? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and this is simple for me. The 400i is all as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and this is simple for me. The 400i is all like Origin ships are, beautiful. The organics of the Banu ships are amazing and I love them, but when I think of space, I find something beautiful in the function and looks of the massive Reclaimer. It just feels like a living, breathing future in space. Terrifying, awesome, all at once, and I'm going to make possibly my first really controversial choice yet. And for the beauty contest, I'm going to go with the Reclaimer. Speaking of controversy, we're going to go back to last year's winner of Best in Show. And I'm calling this category the meme ships. The ships that are going to be voted on because they would be a good vote. For fun. And you know what? That's what the Best in Show, that's what everything about this is having fun. We have the Argo MPUV. There was the cargo edition last year. Maybe it'll win again. Maybe they'll go for the personnel carrier version this time. There's the Grey Cat buggy. I'm not going to get into too much of the Argo because it got a lot of notice last year. So we'll talk about the Grey Cat buggy and why I think that's good. It's simple. It's on the ground. You can drive it on off-road terrain. It doesn't really handle well. It'll eventually explode. Even crossing the ice lakes and Microtech, I've had one explode on me. But there is the upcoming race series, which looks like a Star Citizen / Mario Kart crossover. I could see that happening. The Dragonfly and Hoverquad, we'll put those kind of together. The hover bikes, they're pretty cool as well. A little more useful, really fun to fly. There has been a lot of improvement, and if you're looking to cover ground or play indoor race, what a fun thing to get onto a Dragonfly. I'd say the Rock and the Rock GS, I'll kind of put those in the same category also. Limited in use, but the uses they have make you some good money. Arguably, the DS, not as useful because it's not really fun with two people, I think. And with one person, it's a little bit more annoying, and it's limited into what ships can carry it as opposed to the Rock. And then the Mule, the new small ship. And when I say ship, they're all solar ships, but it is a ground vehicle that I think is going to come into its own with Cargo Refractor when that's coming out, moving cargo around. I could really see the Mule being useful, so I'm putting that on there. Now, this one is a bit harder to decide because honestly, I don't think that any of these ships should ever be Best in Show. The argument that the best ships should be accessible and not out of reach for the everyman doesn't really fly with me. In the real world, if we equate that with something like cars, somebody may say that the best car should be a Honda or like a Ford Focus, not an impractical supercar, or a massive, Bentley, something like that. I've always felt, really, if you're looking at what's the best car ever, so like the 1960s GT40, that's the best car ever. That is better than anything else. And no one, I think, would go, I'd rather you give me a Ford Focus than a GT40. However, not practical. But this isn't about practicality. This is about what ships really speak to people. So it's none of these really fit the bill of being above and beyond the other ships. Each of them here has their own goods and bads. But if I had to choose what is best, I'll choose one that is unique. What will fit the role that really can't be filled by another. So the hover bikes are out because there's two of them. There's not a huge difference really between the Dragonfly and the Hover Quad, so they are out. The Rocks for the same reason, because they both, mine well. Well, okay, the Rock maybe better in my opinion than the DS. Uh, they're close, so no, we're not going to count that. So that leaves us with the Argo and the Grey Cat Buggy and the Mule. So the Grey Cat Buggy I could see being popular because it's going to become a racing. And if there was a way to modify it and change it a little more, even if it's just changing the type of tires or the engine for the racing, I could see maybe the Grey Cat Buggy being in there. But it really currently still doesn't have a use besides driving around in a little race like a go-kart. The Argo MPUV can be considered, but it's already won, and it really doesn't, in my opinion, have a use that shines above any other ships. You could transport cargo, or you can transport people with a ship roughly the same size that has a jump drive and is faster. So that's why I wouldn't say the MPUV. So that leaves the Mule. So I'd say out of the two, if I narrowed it down, the Grey Cat Buggy or the Mule, I'd go with the Mule. And so that's it. Those are the ideas of ships that I think would be great in the upcoming Ship Showdown and why. What I'm going to do is when the Ship Showdown actually starts, I'm going to take the two that are currently in contention and just go over my thoughts on them as well as getting your thoughts. So when you know what ships are coming out, send me a message what you think, and I will put that into consideration as well for what ships I think are doing well and should be winning in the Ship Showdown. So what do you think? What ships did you like? What ships would you like to see in the Ship Showdown? And if you had to choose one best ship that's currently in game, what would it be and why? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.